Hello and welcome to another beer and me talking nonsense video. Now, if you've not been into one of these before, there may be some grown-up themes. So if you can't cope with grown-up themes or you're underage, then leave now. Also, and I need to be really clear about this because some people just do not get it. All I'm doing is speaking my mind. There's nothing offensive in this video at all, in the slightest. There may be some profanity. There's certainly going to be some alcohol consumed. So because I have absolutely no intention to offend anybody, if you find yourself offended, it's a you problem, not a me problem. Anyway, with the introduction out of the way, let's get on with business. So, I'm fresh from work, so if I'm filthy, I'm filthy. I can't help that, folks. It's Friday, it's October. What the fuck happened to 2023? Anyway, swearing over and done with. I've got my Land Rover glass. Look at that, nice little Land Rover on the front of it. It looks like it should be a Defender, but it's got a split windscreen, so I'm going to incline to say it's some sort of Series 3, I reckon. Very nice, so my sister bought that for me. And courtesy of Miner's Cider, link down below, and Dale, who very kindly bought these up, thank you very much. We've got a couple of specials here. We've got a Miner's Special Brew, 6.4%, suitably chilled, and we've got it looks like Yarlington Mill Cider. Apologies if that's wrong, the letter's worn off it. Yarlington Mill Cider. These are both specials. Now, Dale also bought up a Winston, which I've reviewed before, and I drank it already. It was very nice. Not tonight. I'm starting off sober tonight. We'll see how quickly these get on to me. Right, so let's open. I'm going to go for the Yarlington Mill. Yardington. I think it's Yarlington. Yarlington Mill Cider. Got my bottle opener. Right, let's give it a go. Oh, very happily. It's all going to go down, so I'm pouring the whole lot in here. There we go, look at that. Well, it's quite clear-ish. That's all right, I can see through it. Really happily, like cooking happily. That's got a really dry first taste, but quite a mellow aftertaste. That's nice, I quite like that. Oh yes, well it's booze, isn't it? What's there not to like about it? Anyway, we digress somewhat. Oh, there's a heater box down there. Anyway. I could get very silly on that. Very silly. That's nice. Thank you, Dale. Thank you, Miner's Cider. Right, thousands and thousands of questions, quite literally 8. But all kind of going along the same sort of theme. I guess you guys think you know enough about me, so you want to know my opinions. And I'm a bit nervous about giving opinions at the moment. I don't know why, because they're my opinions. And I'm entitled to them, allegedly. No, I am entitled to my opinions. Go fuck yourselves if you think I'm not. Anyway, that was out loud, Richard. That was rude, Richard. Naughty boy. There's no other way to put it than I think the planet's gone nuts. I think humanity has gone insane. And I think that it's being driven. This shit hasn't just suddenly come out of the woodwork from nowhere. I know every generation needs a rebel factor. So back in my time, 1,000 years ago, early 80s, it was mods and skinheads, and I was neither. So if you're a mod, you're a skinhead, blah, blah, blah. That's what they used. It was a mod resurgence, and the skinheads came out as well. So that was the rebellion back then. And I'm sure there's been lots of rebellion. Nowadays, the rebellion just seems to be utter lunacy. And I don't... Where can I go? So I don't want to go into conspiracies. But I'm quite amused how the period of time from conspiracy to fact has reduced somewhat significantly. And I think we're down to about 5 or 6 months at the moment. So someone will say something, oh, this is going to happen, and everyone else will say, no, you're talking nonsense, that can't possibly happen. And now all of a sudden, fact. So while I don't want to get involved in conspiracies, because there are a lot of crazy ones out there, not crazy conspiracists, but crazy conspiracies, that some of the stuff is actually quite frightening, and I'm not entirely sure that the motivation on behalf of the conspirator is to frighten the public, or frighten the listener, or frighten whoever. I'm not frightened by it because I couldn't give a toss, but some people could be. So if you look at the current, let's call it climate apocalypse, it's a good word, that apocalypse, the climate apocalypse, the planet is going to end in the next 10 years unless we do something about it. Well, I'm 57 now, and I've heard this will be the 5th decade that I've heard this shit. Sorry, in my opinion, shit. Yes, there's climate changing. The climate changes continually. How is paying tax and buying all your goods from the other side of the planet made by forced labour or slave labour going to resolve that situation? I don't know. But there are some people out there absolutely hysterical about it. Absolutely hysterical. With fear and screaming. You don't have to go very far on any of the kind of YouTube-y kind of type channels in order to find some of these folk generally pissing other people off. And I think the crux of my video today is, if it is all being controlled by powers above us mere mortals, us working class, middle class, whoever you want to call it. I'm not working class. My son thinks he's working class. That's a different story. Anyway, Victoria Beckham thinks she's working class. Her dad used to give her a lift to school in a Rolls Royce. Yeah, probably was working class. Yeah, anyway, fair enough. I think David called her out on that one. If there is a ruling elite, let's say, who have dastardly plans for civilization, then the best way that they are going to do that is by dividing us to conquer us. And by dividing us, they can split humanity into two distinct groups. You've got the traditionalists and you've got the progressives, progressive liberals, I guess. And it's quite easy to find ways to alienate either party. Now, you're going to find there's more alienation from one side than the other. I'm not going to say which side. You can work it out for yourselves. So one side is more likely to get upset about something that they deem offensive. Let's say because they might be a bit snowflakey. You might have given it away there, chap. Just a minute. So, what would my advice be if you agree with that in principle? Well, don't find yourself being made angry by other people. Don't get angry at JSO blocking the road, because what the authorities might want is that they become such a nuisance that they pass a bill to say, right, we're going to ban JSO. And it will rocket through the Commons and it will rocket through the Lords. But hidden within that bill will be, we're going to ban protesting. You can see it. Actually, you can see it. It's going to happen. You can almost taste it. It's that close. So be aware of shit like that. Don't kind of get bogged down in, I suppose, I don't know, bogged down in shit, really. Bogged down in other people's concerns, bogged down in other people's issues. Don't let that, other people's concerns or issues, divide humanity, because it shouldn't do. It's almost like a new religion, isn't it? So rather than, religious factions warring against each other, now we've got the hardcore They're called eco-loons for some reason. They've got legitimate concerns, to be honest. But then, you know, they're quite happy to get on an aeroplane, on the whole. They're quite happy to get a ride in a car to an event, or on a train to an event. So yeah, don't just automatically discount other people's views and feelings. If they want to belong to something that has cult-like behaviours, then that's their prerogative. And I started to become aware of this, well, a few years ago. Well, first and foremost, you go back a decade, some of the stuff we're going through now would have been like, really? Never. It'll never happen, not in my lifetime. And now we're going through it. I'm not going to name anything in particular because I don't want to offend anybody, and I don't want to get anyone riled up, or I don't want to be accused of any form of hate speech, because that's not what this fucking thing's about. It's about not being divided and avoiding being conquered, so that we can maintain our civil liberties and our human rights. So yeah, all three of my sons are through university now. So my middle son graduated with a master's earlier this year. So that's the last of them now. So all three have been through university. Middle son, oddly enough, seems to be the most balanced. He's kept himself out of all of the nonsense that goes through the education system. Has kept himself fairly level-headed, has his own opinions, doesn't wish to force them on everyone else, has his own views, can actually hold a debate. And it's very interesting. My youngest son, sorry chap, you know who you are. My youngest son, when he came out of university, while he was at university, very much would have his viewpoint, which would be progressively liberal. And he would argue that point. And if I was to counter that through debate, not shouting him down, just trying to debate, put some reason, some rationale into his assertions, his narrative, then invariably he would resort to personal insults. Now I can take that. I'm his dad, you know, I can live with that. It's not a problem. But I would continue just to nibble at the edges, not just to piss him off, but just to try and, are you sure about this, mate? Are you absolutely sure that this is the way that we should be going? Now, he's been out of university a year and he's seen a big chunk of the world now. He's very fortunate, very lucky. Went to the Far East, did a lot of touring around Vietnam and so forth. And he's come back from this trip balanced. Doesn't matter if he's left or he's right. To be honest, left and right in this country now, as the SNP spokesperson in Westminster eloquently pointed out, are two cheeks on the same arse. And I couldn't agree with the SNP more on that particular statement. You couldn't split them. You really couldn't at the moment. And this is why I think that politics is dead in this country now. It's just we're being fucked over, in my humble opinion. And I don't want to get into politics either, because it's what it is. And if you wanted to make a change to it, then you have to become a politician. And I haven't got the patience for it. Really haven't. But anyway, youngest son has now become much more balanced. And now, if I remind him of some of the statements that he made while he was at university, he will be, oh yeah, but. And he'll try and justify making those statements. He doesn't need to justify them. They were beliefs he had. He's then become wiser through experience and has changed those viewpoints. We didn't need to fall out over it. We didn't fall out over it. I let him explore. Oh, battery's about to run out. I let him explore his own beliefs. I let him explore what it was he wanted to do with his life. Right, that's just charging up now. What he wants to do with his life. It's his life. I can't control him. He's an adult. I don't want to control anybody. But it's interesting how within a year he had gone being from someone with extreme, in my view, left views, to someone who kind of has moved more centrist, if not right of centre. Now, again, that'll balance as he gets older. He'll balance. He'll move left and he'll move right. Doesn't matter what happens. The government always gets him, rule number 1, and tax and death are only certainties in life, rule number 2. And then my oldest son he's a big warrior. Cracking lad, brilliant lad. He's just done a half Ironman. Really, really, really unbelievable event. He excelled. He worked bloody hard for it. And I'm so proud of him. His views and my views don't align in the slightest. And he has grown not to just try and shout me down. He's realised that just shouting me down doesn't make me go quiet. Because I'll continue to reason, continue to debate, not to the point where he's going to throw a punch, and I don't think he would. Does get angry though. He does get very angry about it because he can't justify his viewpoint. And again, through experience in life, he will become wiser and learn that there is something behind that viewpoint that can justify why he likes that viewpoint. Don't want to change him in the slightest. Brilliant. So, because those lads have all been through university, and I can see, because I've been told, someone told me after one of the videos I put out a few years ago, that the education system now is heading down some very, very, very dangerous territory in this country. I'm not going to dig too deeply into it because, you know, there's no way could I deal with the little fuckers, I tell you. I couldn't be a teacher for 5 seconds. But some of the things that are being taught, I don't necessarily agree with. My lads, certainly, when they were going through the university phase, certainly my youngest son, was fully indoctrinated into the white guilt, the white shame routine. Absolutely. He was neck deep in this. And, you know, as far as he was concerned, we need to bring down every statue of everyone because they may have been a slave owner or a colonialist or whatever. Wasn't prepared to even think for a second about the history or the context or what the implications may have been at the time. Wasn't prepared to think about that. And because of that, wasn't able then to see that we can learn. We can learn from our own history. That's where I think the traditionalist may be a little bit more understanding of historical importance than other factions. It's fucking tasty, this. We're rambling too much anyway. So I think the long and short is that everyone's entitled to an opinion, even the nutters. I'm a nutter, by the way, just in case you were wondering. Even the nutters are entitled to an opinion, and nobody, I believe, should be shouted down for having an opinion. If they're just trolling, then they can go fuck themselves. You can normally spot a troll from a mile away. Who's that clip-clopping on my bridge? But if they've got a concern and they've got a justifiable and legitimate opinion, fuck it, let them have it. Don't fight with them. Why would you want to fight with them? That's all part of the divide beat. Right up until the point where we get conquered. And I don't mean, because it is autumn out there now, so the conkers are on the trees. That'll be banned. Oh, it probably has been banned. I'm pretty sure that was banned years ago. God help us. I don't recall there being any injuries from playing conkers when I was at school. I do remember a long way back as well. But it's been banned now. People have to wear eye goggles and face masks. I think there's only... What's the best way of putting it? Right, there's only one way you can learn not to fall out of a tree. And that's by climbing a tree and falling out of it. So you need to learn by... No, you don't. You don't need to. From my experiences, I have learnt from mistakes. And, you know, some have been painful and others less so. But every day is a school day. Every day is a learning day. And it's a laugh. Just try and ignore. I ignore the mainstream media these days. Utterly ignore it. Just because they only present one side of a story. A narrative. And because they only present one side of the story, they don't give me enough information to form my own view. They're feeding me information. I don't want to be fed information. I want to make my own, you know, make my own mind up. This is good. Anyway, if you're still with me, cheers. But now we're going to go for the Miners Special Broom. I wonder if this is like Special Broom. That's much less. I think it's going to be really dry, this one. Anyway, so just remember divide and conquer. If you remember divide and conquer, we can't be divided, makes them difficult to conquer us. Dead easy, whatever ruling elites there is out there, ignoring any conspiracy theories and so forth. Right, okay. So that was the majority of the questions were around what do I think about. Blade Runners was a good one. I've had to go to Heathrow a couple of times this week, T5, Terminal 5. If you're not aware, Terminal 5 is about a quarter of a mile off the M25. There's a 11 lane, 11 or 12, 11, no 12 lane wide, okay, 6 lanes in each direction. Could be 7 in each direction. It's a lot of lanes. M25, when it goes past that point, and you pull off the motorway, and within a quarter of a mile, you're in the car park for Heathrow. Heathrow, where the planes land left, right, and centre. So I picked up my son during the day, and it was probably Wednesday. And as I came out of the short stay car park, there is only a fucking ULEZ Scammer van sitting there, clean air van, less than a quarter of a mile from the side of the M25, but just inside it. At Heathrow Airport, they've got a clean air van. Now, if that isn't a classic example of this is simply a form of taxation, then I don't know what is, I'm afraid to say. And all of those people out there that are fighting for the right to not be monitored and to not be able to, to be charged to drive their road legal car on certain roads and not others. Because bear in mind, you're already paying through the nose to drive your car. You pay tax left, right and bloody centre. And then you have to make sure it's maintained and it's in good order and it's all maintained to a national standard, and yet in certain cities you have to pay an additional tax. So to those folk that are fighting for the rest of us on that behalf, you know, cheers, chaps. Chaps, by the way, was not being misogynist. Chaps is just a generic phrase for people. Cheers, people. Really dry. Nice. Oh, that's nice. Okay, so that was. I'm not going to do any more bloody questions about what do you think. You can send me questions about what do I think about. And I got one yesterday about what did I think about Lawrence Fox being arrested. Tell you what I think. He's on a YouTube channel that promotes free speech, which is all well and good, but what he's not done is he's not considered the impact of his free speech. And it's just all he's done. He's got, I think, I can't remember her name. Katie Hopkins, brilliant. I got her on Instagram and YouTube. I love listening to her. She's hilarious. Just makes me laugh. But she brings everything down to grassroots. Some of her views are a bit on the right-wing side. Some of her views are a bit on the left-wing side. Overall, she makes me laugh. She makes me smile at the hypocrisy of society and humanity. And it opens my eyes a little bit. What did she say? Oh yeah, so basically if you're in the limelight, there's a fair chance that you can have a bloody great big target on your back. So the best thing to do is not give anybody the reason to shoot at that target. And I think Mr. Fox, unfortunately, has hit the target there. And I know why he hit it. And the person that has caused all of this brouhaha made some derogatory comments about male suicides in the Middle Ages. Middle-aged men, that is, not 300, 450 years ago. And it's a dreadful thing. It is dreadful, truly dreadful. Is you know, the situation. I'm a sufferer depression myself. I've gone way past that point of thinking about, you know, ending it all. Way past that. Do you know what fixed that for me? Was getting out of the bloody rat race and fixing old cars for a living. And dealing with enthusiasts and dealing with happy people day in, day out, and not being shouted at by idiot customers. It was all I need to do now is get off the fucking venlafaxine. Wish I'd never got on that. It's a nasty bug. If doctor ever offers you venlafaxine, don't take it. It's a nasty one, really nasty. Anyway, enough of that bollocks. Cheers. So, it does actually, because one of the things that I think probably has educated me the most in my life has been my work experiences. And I'm not going to, in case you've ever worked with me, I'm never going to name names or companies, but I might elaborate and explain situations, and some of them are fucking hilarious. Some of them are. But I think it was at the tail end of my last job, towards the tail end, I did have a bit of a breakdown situation, and it wasn't very pleasant, and I survived it. There you go. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And it has. Tell you now. But I had to point out to a customer that was, yeah, bits of spit were coming across the office table at me because something had gone wrong with a project that I was working on. Had to point out, you realise this is only a job, don't you? It's only a job. You know, we are not responsible for bringing down the asteroid that is going to end all humanity. No, it's just a fucking job. And all we're doing is lining someone's pockets here. And I can do the job to the best of my ability, but it needs respect on both sides. Oh, I got a complaint. Yeah, I had to go and see HR about that one. I had to go and see HR. Because the customer says, you cannot speak to us like that. But you know what? I went to HR and complained about the way the customer was speaking to me. I couldn't do anything about it at all. Wankers. You can think it inside. You can't think it outside. You can think it's going to be up here somewhere. It needs to be up here, inside your head, while you're talking to them, and they're being as rude as they possibly can be. You just think, I know you're a wanker. There'll be some Americans watching, and they'll be thinking, what's a wanker? I think you know by now. I think you do know. It's a British phrase, I think. It's probably more widely said than United Kingdom, but God, that first one was good. Second one's going down nicely. Right, so where did I start? So I started, my working life started in 1984. God, that must make me 56. No way. What happened to my 40s? Oh, I had kids. I would recommend it. If you want fancy starting a family, don't let me put you off. It's brilliant. Filled with challenges. Very much filled with challenges, but great fun. Anyway, enough of that. We're not here to talk about that. So I started in 1984. My first job I got was with a civil engineering company because I wanted to be in civil engineering. And I joined a company in Surbiton, near where I lived. And I've been there about 4 or 5 months. And it was just monotonous. There was no excitement in the job. And it was just, I had to fill out punch cards and put them in one box, and then fill out another card and put it in another box. Index cards, not punch cards. There's a sign of my age. Index cards, and put them, oh, fucking age. Then I got 2 job offers from 2 banks pretty much on the same week. One was from Lloyd's and one was from Midland. You folk that are old enough on here will remember Midland Bank. So I ended up going for Midland Bank and joined that. That was a real eye-opener for me, because that was probably the first point where I socially interacted with other people of my age, but that hadn't been stuck in the education system, so they'd already had a chance to mature, whereas I hadn't. And I went into that, and I felt like Billy Bollocks, and actually what I was a tiny little fish in an ocean. And it was a bit of a hard lesson to learn, that one. There wasn't anything particularly exciting occurred in the banking years. I met a good mate of mine, Adrian, still good mates with him now. Really nice bloke. And I met him, 85, 86. So yeah, fair while we've been chums. I went to Le Mans with him all these years, and I went to America, across America. My phone beeping at me. So, hello. Hang on, 2 seconds. Hello. That was the missus just came home from work. Where was I? Oh yeah, Adrian. Yeah, so I met him there. There was a few funny things that used to... So the second branch I worked in, it was, and this was right at the end of the period where you would actually have a bank manager who could make real life decisions on your questions in the branch. Proper Captain Mannering. Except they weren't Captain Mannerings. First one was, and that was in Sutton, Surrey, South London, inside the ULEZ zone. Where was I going? Oh yes, so we had an assistant manager in there, lovely lady, but she was quite fierce. Then, to me, as a 17-year-old, 17-year-old, no, I was spotty. Let's turn this camera down a little bit. I was spotty. Adrian used to amuse me, because he's about 4 or 5 years older than me. He amused me because he would walk around working, whistling, busy doing nothing. Busy doing nothing. And it used to drive her fucking insane. But she couldn't say anything because people didn't. But she would like, Adrian, behave yourself. And it was, So of course then more of us started to. The other thing about that place is it was not a closed shop, but one of the more dominant ladies in the back office was in the union, and we were more or less encouraged to join the union. First time I ever saw £1 million was in that bank. We had £1 million in our safe. Back when £1 million was £1 million. None of this chicken shit these days. So that was fun. What else happened in that place? It was just good fun. Remember Nixdorf computers? If you've ever been in banking 1,000 years ago, you remember Nixdorf computers, and we had one computer in the branch. Everything was done by paper trail. So we had big calculators with a little paper reel on the side. So we would go through checks and we'd be typing in the money. Shut up. Typing in the bits as we were going along. And it all had to tally up to the penny at the end of the day. And some days it would tally up on the close of the branch. They used to close at 3:30. And some days it would take us 3 hours to fix it. But you had to do it. Fixed rate. And then one day Midland Bank came along and they said, right, we want to open the branch on Saturday morning. And what we're going to do is we're going to reduce your working hours by X amount each day for 5 days, and you have to work every Saturday morning. Well, bearing in mind that we had to hang around anyway until the book was balanced, that didn't mean anything at all. because the branch was still open to the same time. They just reduced the amount of time, the amount of free time that we spent in balancing the books. So we were all members of the union, thanks to one of our colleagues, and we got in touch with the union. The union got in touch with the bank. The bank said, if you don't like it, fuck off. So we did. I'd had enough by that point anyway, because I kept applying for the management training scheme to actually get paid leave to study, and they wouldn't do it. So the first I did I think stage 1, it was a business diploma. I did it at night classes at where was it? Nescott, North East Surrey College of Technology in Ewell, where I lived. So I did that at night classes, and I passed that. I did well. I got it. And it was at the point I got that, and I'd applied for the second stage in the banking exams and was turned over for that. So I thought, right, fuck this Regain Soldiers, I've had enough here. So then I basically got a job working in IT, earning almost twice the money. Oh yeah, while I was at the bank, I remember just now, there was a shop next door to us, and probably trade secret now, but this was 1985, 86. A shop next door to us used to sell cigarettes singularly, and ice cream, and all sorts of bits and bobs. They were all right, actually. I was always there buying my single cigarette. Quick, you know, you had to smoke like that. I haven't smoked in 18, 19 years now. Anyway, still killed for a cigarette. Marlboro, it had to be a Marlboro or a Camel. Not a Camel, but a Camel cigarette. And this fucking stuff's getting to me, isn't it? And every week they would come back and they would say, oh, there was all these foreign coins were in the last load of shrapnel you gave us. So the manager was getting a bit pissed off with this. So he had us go through bags of coins to confirm that every single one was legal tender for the UK. And we did. And the other thing that would happen with that particular company was they give bundles of notes. They're all wrapped up in the original, in the kind of labels to say, this is 1,000, this is 500, whatever. And we have very sensitive scales in those days where you put the notes on the scales, and if it didn't read bang on, you knew that there was a note missing. So you count it in one direction and it would be right. You count it in the other direction, it's too short because they folded one over in the middle. Not saying they did it deliberately. No, but it happened a lot. Anyway, but we couldn't do anything about it because the head office said, take it on the chin. So we did. That happened quite a lot. There was, trying to think now. Oh God, we had one of the very first cash machines inside the branch. And we had desks in the banking hall. Oh, it goes back so far now. There's more interesting stories to tell as I got into IT. So anyway, I left that job. I got into IT. A company called SMM, long gone bankrupt. And they sold Hewlett-Packard and IBM computers. And this is back in the days when the bits used to arrive in component form, and me being kind of like engineeringly minded was really keen on building this sort of stuff. And so I got a job really kind of just picking consumables from a shelf. And we were right next door to a massage parlour, and all our lunch breaks were spent with glasses against the wall, listening for anything that might be untoward. Nothing ever untoward happened. And I met another really good mate there, Damien. Hello, Damien. Really good mate. Well, he'd been in that job. So it was 2 consecutive jobs I met lifelong friends at. Hasn't happened since. Just those 2 jobs. And there was one of the sales guys that worked upstairs. Every bloody day he would come down and run over to McDonald's in Wimbledon, get a bloody great big bag of McDonald's, come back, dump it on our workbench while we were working, go upstairs, get his paper, come back downstairs again, and then sit there annoying us, eating his McDonald's while we were working. He wasn't really annoying us, but he was just distracting. Oh God, I fancy McDonald's now, but they don't pay, well, they do pay me enough, but I've already had my lunch. Now I fancy McDonald's, and it's other fast food is available. Anyway, the challenge was, and I was the person that had to complete the challenge, that when his lordship ran upstairs, I had to consume his burger and fries before he got back downstairs again. This is a challenge I accept. Anyway, because I was laughing, it just wasn't funny. So we managed, one of my work colleagues, he wrapped the bag back up again after I piled this burger into my mouth. Wrapped it all up again. His lordship comes back downstairs again. I had to dive down into the basement because I just had a mouth. I was like a hamster, just spitting food out everywhere because I was just laughing like an idiot. He comes back downstairs again, gets his paper, opens his paper up. How's it going, boys? All right, blah, 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 blah. Opens the bag and looks in his bag and like reaches in his bag. He was on the verge of going out the door to go biblical at some poor bloody minimum wage Doris over in McDonald's, and we had to fess up. But the whole place was a bit like that. It was just insane. I'll stick some photographs here of me when I worked at that company. We moved to another premises over on the Green in Twickenham, and yeah, the company evolved, but it went broke sooner or later. It was because of that company that I got moved up to south of Manchester, North Cheshire, and I lived in Wilmslow for a couple of years. Very nice, really enjoyed Wilmslow. I kind of miss Wilmslow. Wish I kept that fucking house. Sold that bloody house the year I met my missus, or actually the week I met my missus. I sold that house, and I sold it for £67,000. And the person who bought it still owns it. Yeah. I could have solved all my bloody problems. Anyone tells you that money doesn't solve your problems, they're talking bollocks. So the job, actually I could tell you about Wilmslow, because it was all right. It was a good job. I just drove enormous amounts. I had a Mark II Cavalier company car. It was F-Reg, F462 Charlie Golf Nova, and I had a phone fitted into it because I was just always on the road, and they needed to contact me. And back then, I was kind of like, they called me a consultant, but only because I was friendly and tame, and I would go out with the salesman and I would help them explain their bullshit to the customer in a fashion that didn't expose the company I work for. Company friendly, let's say. And more often than not would dig the salespeople out of their own shit. So I got very good at that kind of thing, and that's kind of where the project management sort of came from, really, that company. Because I was then trusted to go out and do bigger and bigger jobs, in installation work. I've got some cracking jobs I work for. Anyway, we've rambled on for far too much here, and I think I'm going to draw it to a close. But if you like listening to these sort of ramblings, rather than what do I think about the world, then, let me know, because I've got a lifetime of work experiences and life experiences and fun that I've been through that has, like I say, if it hasn't killed you, it's made you stronger. And I firmly believe that. I also firmly believe that everything happens for a reason. It's a weird one, isn't it, really? Because it takes a lot of strength to believe that every single thing that happens for a particular reason. because there are things that we think are out of our control. That's where my faith comes in. There you go, I'm a Christian. Well, I ain't going to bang on about that. Don't need to, because I don't want to push. There's a mosquito. Little bastard, what are you doing up there? There you go, that happened for a reason. I don't want to kind of push anything on anybody. It's coming at me now, look. Hello. I bet you're going to eat me now, aren't you? Oh, two. Ah, my boots. It's going to be warm this weekend, 24 degrees. October. You know the BBC is going to be screeching about man-made global warming, climate change, don't you? Absolutely screeching. And then someone will light a fucking barbecue in Tenerife, and there'll be a wildfire, and it will be, global warming! Cunts. Anyway, on that note.